Hey, it's TDA, and today I have a very interesting game for you called Starburst, which is actually coming out today as of this video being published. So, what is this game? Well, it's actually more or less a factory slash resource management slash logistics game, but what makes this very interesting is that it is very chill to play. It has a very relaxed attitude. You can see we're basically playing, I don't know, birds, chickens, I'm not sure what these are supposed to be, in space, and we are trying to colonize space. Now, unlike most of the factory games, this is actually a level-based game. So you play certain scenarios, and every time you complete a scenario, you also get some rewards that you can use to then upgrade your buildings and things like that. We'll get to that in a moment. But there's a little bit of a progression going on in this game. So it's not a typical factory game, but it is very interesting. What's also very interesting bit for this game is that the whole vibe, and of course the narration most importantly, is tied into a YouTube channel called Kurzgesagt. So this is in a nutshell in English. This is a YouTube channel that has, I think, 24 million subscribers at this point, so you might have heard of it. It's an interesting channel, honestly. I've been watching it myself before I even know this game. But that also really ties into the narration. So I'll show you a little bit of like the intro story, and then we'll play one of the later levels so you can see really what the gameplay is all about.
Tucked into their cryo eggs, our crew will leave the rest of the birds behind. Those who remain will tell their hatchlings of the incredible mission they once shared. The solar sail unfolds to its full size of 5.9 square kilometers, reflecting the light of their home star as a final farewell, before they accelerate into the darkness. For 96 years, our birds slept through the silence of space. But this calmness ends now. Rise and shine, and welcome to Ravsicle. This really should have been a warm and cozy place, but a shroud of interstellar dust has settled around this F-type star. It's reduced Ravsicle's light to a permanent sunset, dragging temperatures below freezing all across the system. But even as feathers fluff and beaks chatter, when it comes to closing in on the strange mystery, the birds are getting warmer.
And there we go, we are now on the Ravsicle, and this is one of the first levels in that zone. So wake up, flock, we have arrived in the Ravsicle. You have to see this. Looks really inviting. I hope there's some treasure in all of that. That treasure is called data rust, and this system is full of it. But first we need to set up the space station or we'll freeze to death. That's not how I like to start my Tuesday. You broke the captain, blah blah blah. Oh, first let's grab a hot cup of coffee. That sounds like a good idea. We're going to be fine, provided that we stick to my grand master plan. Gather resources, set up the station, find strangelets, boom, potions, glory, and possible cake. And these strangelets, by the way, are items like mysterious alien artifacts that we're trying to find since the tutorial. Okay, these cryo eggs are as comfy as our nests back in the day. There's a little bit of story at the start of every single level, and it helps you to tie in to give you a reason to do what you need to do. It is frosty here, and we are going to need to insulate our corridors before we venture out into the system. And that's of course what the captain was going to suggest. So this is the general overview that you'll see in every level. There's all kinds of asteroids all around. These will have different resources on them, and you can see some of those resources we have seen before, but there's also unknown resources that we still need to discover. This thing over here is our space station, and we're going to get the resources to our space station in order to complete quests that then will give us more resources. We're also going to upgrade our space station to get better quest rewards, so the further you upgrade your station, the better those rewards will be, and to start generating some passive income along the way as well. You get quests non-stop by clicking on these things, and in this case the first quest is to simply upgrade our station to level 2, and that will give us some credits. That's basically the money you use to buy your building, as well as tech points, and we're going to use those to either upgrade our buildings, research new buildings, or speed up the game. So you can actually speed up the game, but this is going to cost you resources, so it's not a freebie. Okay, so I'm gonna go accept that quest, and then we can start visiting some of these asteroids that we are on. Now let's just start with the first one. Let's enter that. And then you can see this as a very weirdly shaped thing, but we can place a landing pad on it, or I should say a launch pad, because this is going to send rockets to our space station to deliver resources. Now there's some water over here, but this is frozen water, I think. At least I don't think I can build an extractor on there. Nope. So this is not something we can use just yet, and I have the feeling that might be the thing for this level, but we'll find out. There is some uranium here as well, so what I can do is place down some extractors, like so, and connect these up with a pipeline to our little hub over here. And then this rocket is going to launch every now and then and going to send that resource to our main base. Look, there it goes. And if we now go to the map, we can track those rockets as well. You can see the rocket is now flying to our main space station and delivering those resources. Now, the nice thing is, as we now are actually starting our supply line, we'll get quests, in this case to deliver 4 uranium, that's the resource we're producing, to our main space station that will upgrade the space station level and give us some credits as well. So let's do that. That should pretty much instantly complete. Yeah, there we go. And there we go. We got some credits, some resources, and we just upgraded the space station 1 level, and we just need to do that again. So in order to do that, to continue to upgrade our space station, we can pick new quests. Now in this case we have 3 quests for resources that we don't currently already have, so let's check out what we do have. We have some silicon over here. There is a quest for silicon here, so I'm gonna go accept that, and we are going to discover this asteroid, because there is a resource on here that we don't know yet, and apparently I don't know what that is actually. That's a new resource. Let's check it out. So let's just place another one of these launch pads over here. Now we have some of that resource. Let's spend some money, connect this up, and as you can see, this is super smooth to play. It's very simple, straightforward, but I promise you it will get more complicated later on, because right now I'm just placing down extractors, but there's different production buildings that you need to recombine units in. There's some buildings that require energy, and this is still fairly early on in the game, but you can already see the logistics starting up. So for example, we have landing pads as well that we can use to shift resources between different asteroids rather than just to our main station. Anyway, we completed those solar cells, so that upgraded our space station once more, and now you can see my quest rewards will be 20% better than they were before. We get a little bit of passive income just from supplying random resources to our station, but we are also going to get these recurring quests that we can just do in order to get some more levels and some more money, and we're also going to get supply quests. These are easier quests to do. This just generally, I think they're always, I'm not sure they're always, but they especially early on will just be a single resource. And you can use these to get either more credits or more tech points, but either one or the other, so you can't do both at the same time. Okay, however, we are now upgrading our space station, and that is the first main quest we had. So, next mission, look for strangelets. After all, that is what we came here for. Now, I don't think I've seen any of those special resources on this particular asteroid, so let's go back to the map and check out a few of these other asteroids. So I just got a quest for aluminum, and considering that's on this asteroid anyway, I am going to discover this asteroid. As it's going to scan this, it'll take a while, takes a little bit of resource, so we can actually just queue these up as well, just so we have that available to us. I think, look at that, there is some strangelets actually on this asteroid as well. So let's go in there, and yeah, there it is. So I think as soon as we land here, we should get the next main quest. Yeah, there we go. Pluck me and call me a roast, is that what I think it is? Yeah, this is a strange object. Finally, we're getting to the good stuff. I'll bet my birdseed there's some alien relics inside. Or, you know, an actual alien. We gotta get this thing inside first, and it's frozen up really good. So the whole feel of this game is also tied into then actually the YouTube channel. The narration is done by the same narrator, I think, as the YouTube channel. I'm not sure if it's AI, but probably not, because that has been around forever. So before you cancel the channel, I have no idea whether or not it's an actual person, but I assume it is. So what I need from this planet is not just the aluminum, but we're also going to need some water, I think. However, I think that is part of the main quest. I'm getting ahead of myself. There we go. Let's place this down. So there's an excavation hub here now. However, yeah, look, I'm now getting a quest for water. Let's defrost this popsicle, but first I need water from the excavator's engine cooling system. So this building is going to try to get to that strange object, but he needs water. However, there's not any liquid water here. But there are icy patches on some of the nearby asteroids. At these temperatures, fluids and gases like water and methane freeze solid. Okay, so we need ice extractors. So I'm guessing that's a new building. Yeah, there we go. So we are going to research this. There we go. And in the meanwhile, keep completing the other quests and other resource requests so we can keep upgrading our base, keep getting more resources in, etc. It's worth noting that there are these little things on the planet as well, which are just credits and tech points. They're supposedly resources. And you can place down a little rover on your planet and you can drive it around to pick up those resources. So even if you get quests that you can't complete, you can always just get more resources by driving your rover across the planet and gathering up a little bit that way. And you can see that one just respawned. The other ones over here should be respawning at some point as well. Let me drive around for a little bit more. There you go, that one respawned as well. So, you know, there is an infinite amount of resources, and that means this game is very casual friendly. Meanwhile, I'm gonna lay out some more pipes to get some aluminum production going, and there was a lot of resources on this planet as well, right? Oh, this is this thing. Emita, not sure what that is. Oh, it's methane. Okay, but this is probably not something I can mine up with, so I'm gonna need that new building in order to take advantage of that. In the meanwhile, I keep getting more quests, some more corridors in my ship. Let's check out the ship. We are now getting a 30% bonus already, and we have a pretty decent income. It's not gonna break our bank or anything like that, but it is going to give us some progress. Now, in order to do the next quest, I either need to start producing methane, which I need that new building for. I need to find some sulfur, which I haven't actually found in this system just yet, or I need to start crafting light alloy. So just for the sake of it, let's do this one. Now, if you want to find out how you actually make something, you can click on it. It's very user-friendly, and you can see the recipe. So I can use some aluminum and some silicon in order to make light alloy. So I'm going to do exactly that. Now, I have plenty of aluminum on this planet, so what I can do is I can make a landing pad on this planet somewhere. Let's say over here. And then have the silicon that we are already producing be brought in here. So if I go to the map, I can now reroute this. Actually, let me go to this planet, because I do want to set up another one of these launch pads. Here we go. This is uranium. That was not what I was looking for. I always keep messing up confusing the uranium with the silicon. This was the silicon planet. There we go. We're gonna need that uranium at some point probably as well, but yeah. Anyway, there's a launch pad over here. Now, there's not a whole lot of that stuff here, apparently. So actually, let me remove this. You can just delete things that will add it to your inventory, so you can place it on the other side if that is more convenient, for example. Then we are going to place down an extractor, probably 2. I can fit 2 on there, yeah. Something like that. Hook that up, just to demonstrate what you can do. You can also upgrade buildings if you unlock that specific ability in the rewards section. And this makes that produce a little bit faster. Now, I could upgrade it even further, but I haven't actually unlocked that yet. So that is not something I can do right now. You can also upgrade your launch pad, so you can connect more production facilities to it, speed things up that way. So there's a lot of upgrading that you can do in this game to get that going. However, the main point of this, the main reason I set this up, was because I wanted some that silicon production to connect to this other planet, and now that is going to be delivered over here. Going back to that planet, we now have somewhere over here, we have that silicon coming in now. And remember, we needed silicon as well as aluminum to make light alloy, and we need a crucible, that's what that building is called, to do that. So that is one of these things over here. Now, a crucible does need... why can't I build this? Ooh, no, I don't know. Oh, it needs to be on a energy plateau like this. Okay, so And that means we can hook this up. So now this is actually getting that silicon, but we also need some aluminum. That is pretty straightforward, so we can do it like that. However, this building also needs power, as you can see over here. It needs 3 power, and I'm currently producing 0. Now, I'm gonna need to do a few more quests because I just ran out of credits, so be right back. Okay, there we go. Now we have some more money again, and that means we can start building some solar panels. I think these produce 1 power each. Let's test that out, actually. Let's connect that up. Yeah, we need 1 more. So we do need to build them in series, otherwise they don't work. And of course, they also need to be in the sun, so this is why I'm building them over here. And that means we are now producing some light alloy, I think it was called. Yeah. Then, last but not least, we need another launch pad. Connect this up to that, and now we're exporting that. So we should be able to complete this next quest. So as you can see, we have a little bit of interstellar logistics already going on. You can also see that I'm producing way more silicon here than this planet can currently use to build that light alloy. So it's very easy to see at a glance what is going on where. However, more importantly, I can now upgrade my space station and focus on the next quest. Now, I'm gonna take this sulfur quest because that was not the thing I wanted to click. There we go. Mostly because I also need some sulfur in order to do my research over here. So as you can see, we are going to need some aluminum and some sulfur in order to get that extractor thing going on. Let me check out. Do I have any planets? Yeah, I have an asteroid over here that has the resource I need. So I can once again go here, place this down. Is this the thing I need? Yeah, this is sulfur. Place down a couple of these. Probably overkill what I'm doing now, but you know, as long as it works, it works. And this is then going to make sure we get some for that ice extractor. And there we go. We have the ice extractor available to us now. Good to have these ice extractors handy now for our water supply. I was getting worried about my greenhouse hatchlings. Okay. It's quite easy. Once placed on an ice patch, they begin isolating and extracting the constituent components. Okay, so we need to find a planet with water. An asteroid, I would say. I think the first one had it. Yep, there we go. And now, if we go... Is this launch pad doing anything? No. So we can use it for that. Pretty straightforward. This is just going to produce water now, I think. There we go. That's 3 of them, and now we have water available, which means we can make more complicated things. Now, first and foremost, we are going to complete that main quest. In order to do that, we once again have to bring that water to the actual extractor, so let's do that. That means I have to set up another one of these launch pads. I have to connect up the water production. Let's make some new water production, actually. So we can still have the water production getting into the main base as well for any quest completion. There we go. That is going to deliver water. And then we need to go back to the planet that had the thingy on it. That was this one, right? Yep. Let's enter that one. Okay. So let's have a landing pad over here. It has a huge amount of these things, actually, so that is convenient. And then we need to connect this up to the actual extractor. And of course that is not going to work by itself. It can't read my mind, unfortunately. So let's make sure that we connect this up. So just one of them is going to supply water to the space station now, and the other one is going to, there we go, supply some water to our main thing. Now hopefully we should see that water flowing into this thing pretty quickly now. Any day now. Any day. Why is it not working? Am I delivering it to the wrong place? Oh, it is actually still on its way, so it's now registering. So there we go. 4, and another batch of 4 is incoming already. 5, 6. There we go. That's another part of our quest completed. Now, how to crack this one open? We need to run some tests. We can make some plastic so we can build a prototype. So how do I make plastic? I guess we're about to find out. So let's check out the recipe for plastic. We first need to make first need to make hydrocarbon, and we make that out of water and carbon. Now carbon we make out of methane and oxygen. And oxygen, the methane, I think we can just drill up, the thing we just unlocked. And oxygen we can make from water. So as you can see, this is quite a bit of a production chain that you now need to set up in order to complete the next quest. Okay, so we have some methane over here, so we can set some more ice extractors. I can set up another launch pad, hook that up, so that is going to take care of that part of the equation. Now, we are also going to need some oxygen. We can make that, I think. Let's take a new planet. We have some water over here as well. So if we set up over here, this is a tiny little planet, by the way. So if we set that up over here, we need what? How do we make oxygen again? We need a refiner. Okay, so that is one of these things. We need to hook that up, but we need to have an extractor, in this case an ice extractor, feeding into that. So this is going to make us some oxygen. Let's make a couple more of those, at least one more of those, I think. A little bit more of that incoming. And actually what I want to do is set up a secondary launch pad as well. Oh, I ran out of money. Let's make sure I complete some of my quests. There we go. And set this up with the secondary line. So again, we have some of that feeding into our main base as well. Now, you don't necessarily need to do that. I mean, you can just focus on getting your quest completions up and running. But yeah, for now, I think this makes the most sense. Actually, I'm gonna do it slightly different because we need the methane and oxygen to be on the same planet. So I'm gonna delete this, and I am going to import, and let's do that over here. I'm going to go import that, not the launch pad, the landing pad. I'm going to import the methane that we are producing now. Let's see, that's over here. So this is the thing that's just producing the methane, I think. There we go. So that should now be arriving here. And that means that I have both of these resources on the same planet. And I need a chemical lab. Okay, so let's place down a chemical lab. And let's hook up the production of the oxygen to this. Can I hook both of them up? Yes, I can. I can also hook this. Oh, I actually can't because I need to hook up the secondary line as well, the secondary resource. So that means this one can probably feed into that one. There we go. We are now producing... Are we now producing this? Yes, we have all the resources we need. We need no power. We do need to actually export this. So let's make that launch pad over here. And there we go. We are now producing carbon and we're exporting it to our station. However, that is not what the end goal was. Because remember, we wanted to make plastic. In order to do that, we need to make hydrocarbon. And that is what we needed that carbon for. So the main goal of this carbon production is to combine it with water. And we have that here actually. So what we can do is hook that up straight to this. It's getting kind of messy. However, if it works, it works. So let's have that pipeline going in this direction. We need another chemical lab to make the hydrocarbon. Okay. So that is something we can do. I have just enough money for that actually. There we go. Let's extend this pipeline to here. And now this thing should start producing hydrocarbon. So that is pretty awesome, I would say. Is this exporting anything? Yeah, this is doing water. This is doing the carbon. Well, it was doing the carbon, but I'm now using that to make the hydrocarbon instead. That's this one. So let's make the hydrocarbon exporting over here. Is this working? Yep, it is. Look, and the nice thing is the UI actually tells you if you are either producing this, or in this case now, whether or not you can craft it, if you have it available, if it's naturally occurring, so you can just straight up mine it. All of that is a super user-friendly way to help you actually play the game and know what you're going to do next. Anyway, that means we can now turn the hydrocarbon into plastic with another one of these refiners. So let's do that over here. Let's hook everything up. And now we can start again working on the next stage of our main quest. That next quest is probably going to involve building a component lab And in order to make that, we're going to need to make some acid, for which we need sulfur and water, and we need to once again put that into a chemical lab, and then we have a new building that we can then use to make even more complicated stuff. And I think you kind of get the gist of it. This is the gameplay loop that we're looking at. Now, I do have to say, if you zoom out a little bit, even though it's been all pretty straightforward so far, it's already getting quite complicated. We haven't even touched on about half of the asteroids in this zone, so you can easily see how complicated and confusing this can easily get if you don't have a structured approach to playing the game. However, I do really like the UI. The game is super smooth to play. It's really easy to track down, okay, how do I make something? What buildings do I need? What do I need in order to make the next materials? You can click through things. So if you take a more complicated thing, apparently we're at some point making circuit boards. It's like, okay, you need acid and silicon, but how do I make acid? Well, just click on it and you can see. And if you want to then go back to your circuit board, you can. So it kind of remembers what you clicked on before, so you don't have to continuously look something up. It's very user-friendly to play. Not the most complicated game per se, in terms of like having to figure out all kinds of complicated ratios and stuff, although you probably should be looking at that, because I'm once again overproducing some things and underproducing others. And there's a reward for optimizing everything, because as you can see, for example, I'm getting the maximum reward for making plastic at this point, but I'm only getting minimum rewards for some of the other stuff, so that you could optimize this in order to upgrade your income, for example. All in all, very enjoyable game to play. Let me know in the comments if you actually want to see more of this. I could do like an entire playthrough or whatever, but that's mostly depending on how much interest there is in this game. Check it out on Steam. I'll leave a link below, and if you're still here, of course, you're awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.